On your typical mixer, you can split the front panel into two main sections, the input section and the master section. Now you notice over here in the input section, it's really just a bunch of identical channels that take your inputs that are coming from the stage from these inputs right here. And then the master section over here is where things start to get a little bit different. Maybe there's subgroups or stereo returns, matrix sends, maybe built-in effects and graphic equalizer, for example. My point is that the bulk of a mixer is the input channel section, and guess what? They're all the same. So don't get intimidated whether there are 12 channels here or a bazillion. It's really no big deal. Just learn one of these guys and then you've learnt them all. Now the master section over here might be a little bit different from console to console, and we'll tackle that in a moment. But all you need to know right now is that all of your inputs come into these input channels like kick drum mic, snare drum mic, hi-hat, toms, overheads, bass, guitar, keys, vocals, and so on. And you just mix them up into a main mix that comes up over here. So forgetting all the stuff over here, let's look at the input channels, and we'll start with the first one. But before we look at all kind of the bells and whistles of an input channel, let's look at a principle that is crucial to understanding things like how to set levels, control noise, distortion, how to basically get a very clean signal, and that is gain structure. Whenever you bring an input into a mixer, you have basically three different places to set those levels. You have your input gain that goes through to your channel fader, which then goes through to your master fader. Now, if you crank up your input gain, you end up getting distortion. Well, guess what? That will follow you through to your channel fader and then also, of course, your master fader. But if you get so timid of distortion and then you go back to input gain here and lay it very low, then you'll see what happens downstream. The channel fader is low, the master fader is low. You see those green indicators in each LED ladder. So if you set your input gain very low and you had the bright idea of cranking it up in the channel fader, then guess what? You'd be bringing up a bunch of noise, and that would follow you through to the master fader. So really our job when we start bringing things into a console is to set their input gain so that we can have a nice healthy level. And of course, you'll have a bunch of input gains, and they'll all be set to different levels depending on what you have hooked up. Might be a very hot guitar or a very weak microphone. You need to make changes to each input gain to give you the best signal to noise ratio. So do you now understand that we could have a bunch of different inputs coming right up here? I mean, everything from, like I said, like a trickle to a fire hose, and our job is to tweak their gain so that they can all kind of come in kind of like on a level footing. It really doesn't matter whether the input is really a hot guitar with an active preamp or a little quiet microphone. My job is to mess with their gain right up here, and all things being equal, I can have a mixer with all the faders kind of looks like this. They're all fairly even at the 0 dB mark. Let's